So, towards the end of the transfer window, Leeds United let a young, promising striker leave on loan, and they left with best wishes, and everyone hopes that they develop and everything turns out in the right direction. No, wait, hold on. That's Joe Gelhardt. No, Mateo Joseph left under a little bit of a cloud, with Leeds United deciding, you know what, we will let him go on loan, but there will be no clause to buy because we want to get as much value out of him as possible, and we feel like he will do quite well in the coming season. And 5 matches into the season and having played a decent bit of football for Mallorca, things aren't necessarily heading that way for him. So in this video, I'm going to run through how Mateo Joseph has been going so far. I've been keeping a little bit of an eye on him because I work for a football broadcaster that works in Spain. I'm able to do so. And I've also got a little bit of exclusive data on what Mallorca fans are thinking about Mateo Joseph at the moment, so I'll cover through all of that as well, just to give an idea of what fans on that side are thinking about him. And I'm going to start by looking through his performances match by match. So his trip to Barcelona in his first match for Mallorca ended up with a 3-0 loss. Somehow he got a 7.0 rating on SofaScore. Honestly, I don't think he necessarily deserved it. He pressed a little bit, but he didn't especially do anything of value. Very, very, very weird one. After that, Mallorca played Celta Vigo, in which he got a 6.5 and didn't get a goal, didn't get an assist, didn't really do much. Then Real Madrid, which obviously you expect you will lose, and they did 2-1, but he came out of that with a 5.5 on SofaScore, because he just didn't really perform in the slightest. And the match against Espanyol, a lot of people will look at and think, oh, I guess he had a decent performance there because he came out of that with a 7.8. However, they still lost 3-2, and he got that boost in rating because technically he got an assist because he won a penalty. But in this case, winning a penalty is someone from a corner pulled his shirt, he went to ground, and it was given. Very, very kind to say that that's on him, to the extent that he was benched for the next match against Atletico Madrid. Didn't come off the bench at all, and then we get to last night's game against Real Sociedad, in which he didn't do much again, and in which a lot of Mallorca fans were polled by sort of me. I asked a co-worker if they were able to ask a couple of questions for me, and they said, yeah, sure, go for it. And we found out a few things about the way that Mallorca fans feel about Mateo Joseph's time at Mallorca. So, first off, the question of who was Mallorca's best signing of the summer window came up. And the thinking is, okay, if people are liking Mateo Joseph, he will do quite well here. However, lost out to Pablo Torre, who got a 50.5% rating, which is pretty damn high. 33% of the vote went to Jan Virgili, who is another fairly promising footballer, to be fair to him. And then Mateo Joseph came third out of 3 with just 15.8% of the vote, which is not really that great for someone who thought that he should be starting throughout the end of the Championship last season and saw himself breaking into the Premier League 11 this season. It's not necessarily fantastic, but you know what? That's fine, because there's more questions and maybe it improves. Then we asked who is the best striker at Mallorca, because, you know, they play 2 up top, they've got 4 options up top, and Mateo Joseph didn't do necessarily very well. Muriqi, who is very, very obviously their best striker at the moment because he's performing to a very, very high level, he's the one scoring the goals, got 89% of the vote. And Mateo, with the other candidates who also performed very, very poorly, only got himself 4%. Which isn't fantastic. And then we proceeded to ask Mallorca fans specifically, and this isn't like minimal amounts of Mallorca fans. The first 2 polls got 204, then 235 votes respectively, so there's a decent sample size here that gets an idea of Mallorca fans that are actually watching matches rather than just like chilling. The final question was, should Mallorca sign Mateo Joseph on a permanent deal? To which only 52% of the Mallorca fans said yes. Now, a lot of people might look at that and go, what are we complaining about? That's more than half of them. But we are still in the period where Mateo Joseph should be seen as some exciting new signing that is able to have a massive impact on their season, whereas the reality of the situation is 48% of Mallorca fans are thinking, I've already seen enough and I don't necessarily want this guy for the extended future. A lot of the 52% as well, having looked through the chat, specifically said things like, we've not really got that much in terms of options anyway, so yeah. So a lot of it seems to be, yeah, we'll sign him out of necessity, rather than, yeah, we'll sign him because we really, really, really want this guy. And that is where I think Leeds might be in a little bit of trouble at the minute. Because when it comes to the loanees that we've sent out and we're hoping will increase in value, things aren't doing fantastically. Mateo we sent out on loan specifically rather than a sale, just because, well, if he increases in value, we don't want to lose out on that. Which makes sense on the face of it, and I think is the right move for Leeds to make, but he's gone out and he's not really done anything so far. Similarly, Laji Ramazani, gone out on loan to Valencia, and let's have a look at his matches so far this season. Got one assist, and then, I mean, that's fine, that's okay. Got an assist in a 3-0 win, love to see it. Then, pumped by Barcelona 6-0, got a 6.3 out of 10 in a 2-0 victory, over Athletic Club, and then was benched for the match against Espanyol and might be injured at the moment, which isn't necessarily what you want to see. And all this is adding up to the sort of premium players that Leeds United have at the moment, that we're sort of saying, these are the ones that we're sending out on loan to appreciate in value, and then we'll potentially sell them on, but they might come back into the fold. They aren't really doing a ton. And that's something that we need to be a little bit attentive to. We need to make sure that those players are actually kicking on a little bit, because if Mateo doesn't kick on, the next summer all we've got is a player back who no one in Spain has necessarily wanted to sign, and Leeds United won't want to play because, let's be honest, he didn't exactly set the greatest of impressions on the way out. It's not brilliant. The fact that he went on strike for an entire pre-season, that's not a good look. And sure, he has the chance to kick on as the season goes on, and I kind of hope he does. Not because I want to see him in a Leeds shirt again, but primarily because I want us to be able to sell him for a decent sum of money so we can sign a decent right winger and a number 10. But if we keep being in the situation where that isn't happening, we could be in a little bit of trouble. But I hope we're not. And I think we won't be, maybe? I don't know. I'm optimistic-ish. But I'm going to leave that video there. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, 1 second. You should like, you should comment, you should subscribe. Oh, it'd be absolutely wonderful if you did so. Because it really helps the sort of channel to keep on kicking along, because the YouTube algorithm absolutely hates YouTubers at the minute. That GIF is way too slow, so I'm going to have to fix that. And it's looping. I've broken something, and I don't know what I've broken, so I'm going to hide that. Also, make sure that you are voting for what is entitled by the website the Leeds United View on the Football Content Awards. It's being hosted in Elland Road, and it'd be fantastic if Jer and the gang could bring a win in at home, in theory-ish. You can also vote for All Leeds TV for a couple of categories as well. It's good to get the sort of Leedsy family working together and everything going well. I'm going to leave that there. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all later. Toodaloo.